Okay, as we reported last Friday, it's happening. National security officials now say the briefing to House intelligence that Russia was helping President Trump was overblown, overstated, calling into question the New York Times story that first claimed this. Let's bring in one of our favorites. He's former Whitewater Independent Counsel, former counsel of the president during impeachment. He's Robert Ray. Great to see you, sir. Welcome back.
Nice to be here.
Your reaction to this story?
I guess it's not a huge surprise to me because it was always fuzzy to me exactly what the New York Times was claiming when no one really seemed to know what the intelligence was to begin with. So once you start to speculate as to what the significance of the intelligence is, and you're pretty clear that the debriefers didn't give the background and the actual intelligence to those that they were briefing in, on the House, it was always, to me, subject to some question about where that was going to land because you didn't have the benefit of the actual facts. We still don't. Democrats
may have been pushing U.S. intelligence official Shelby Pearson on Russia here, and the media did not give accurate context to what Pearson was saying, that Russia always interferes. To your point, last Friday, we questioned what the media is now covering. The Times story didn't have any signal intelligence, no intercepted emails or conversation, nothing about which Russian unit or contractor was doing the hacking or were helping other presidents. So it seemed like pretty flimsy at the outset,
I don't know how serious it is. I mean, if you're talking about the Russians monitoring websites and engaging in what I think amounts to fairly typical and routine activity, that's one thing. Things that are more serious in terms of trying to pick winners and losers, maybe we should be more concerned about. But without actually having the facts, I thought it was overblown to be suggesting one way or another what the significance of that actually is. And you have to understand also that it's in a political context.
Right.
And so you've got people, members of Congress behind closed doors with the intelligence briefing trying to push back to suggest one way, pushing one way politically or the other. And you have to be very careful about that in the intelligence world about, again, the conclusions that you draw in an election year.
And leaking it. Okay, so to your point, because President Trump is now accusing Adam Schiff of leaking this classified information.
Which was what he was concerned about from the beginning.
Let's watch this. Watch.
I read where Russia's helping Bernie Sanders. Nobody said it to me at all. Nobody briefed me about that at all. What they try and do is certain people like certain people to have information. No different than it's been. But I have not been briefed on that at all. Nobody told me about it. They leaked it. Adam Schiff and his group, they leaked it to the papers. And as usual, they ought to investigate Adam Schiff for leaking that information.
And then the president tweeted, I suggest calling Bob Mueller and the 13 angry Democrats to do a new Mueller report, Democrat edition. Here's the president saying he also was never briefed on Russian efforts to help Bernie Sanders, as Bernie Sanders says he was told about Russia interfering to help the Sanders campaign about a month ago. Why didn't Sanders reveal this a month ago, and now he's going after the Post for reporting this? Why didn't he reveal it a month ago?
I think everybody understands the political sensitivity of this, which is why I think the intelligence community in the future needs to be much more careful about what conclusions it draws and careful in responding to questions. And I think also the president is suggesting, listen, I don't know why these things are going forward and I don't even know about them. And now I understand he's a candidate for re-election, but I think, this sort of information, as highly sensitive as it is, should be carefully controlled. The conclusions ought to be precise, and engaging in sort of what does it all mean in the middle of an election cycle seems to me to be particularly problematic because it tends to have an effect on a candidacy or election returns and so forth.
That's a good point.
We all need to be more careful.
Facebook reportedly investigating suspicious pro-Sanders content on Facebook, couldn't substantiate claims that Russia or Trump campaign or supporters were involved. So much of the media convinced that the president is a Russian operative after this now debunked New York Times story. Bloomberg News, Eli Lake writing, Schiff, who was present at the briefing in question, knows that there is no formal intelligence finding that Russia is meddling on behalf of Trump. That's what his sources are telling him.
And I just go back to the point of the things that you just showed. It says, well, the Russians are back at it. Well, back at what? I mean, it seems to me, again, everybody needs to be more precise before you wander off into wild speculation, and it's another bombshell report, and this is shocking, to hold on a second, it's an election year. Everybody's going to play with this because they're doing it for purposes of potential political advantage. And before we start running off to one side of the deck of the Titanic and the other, we ought to, better understand what the actual facts are that back up whatever the intelligence supposedly is. And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't be concerned about it, but we need to be concerned about it not detached or divorced from facts.
I hear what you're saying. To your point, here's what Congressman John Ratcliffe told Maria Bartiromo about this. Watch this.
The issue is why Russia is being so successful in shaking American confidence in the integrity of our elections. And the reason is it's because Democrats keep perpetuating and accentuating and proliferating Russian propaganda for their political gain and for their political motivation against Donald Trump. It's Democrats that created the Steele dossier and peddled it to our law enforcement and intelligence communities.
Your quick reaction?
Right.
To that?
I mean, sowing discord is easy if one side, for political advantage, is seeking to take advantage of that and running again off into the land of wild speculation without basing the intelligence on what facts support the conclusions that you're trying to draw.
Robert Ray, you're great. Will you come back?
Of course. Thanks very much. Good to see you.